The coffee maker gurgled its final note, and Wanda Maximoff smiled at the familiar sound. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window of the two-story colonial, illuminating the checkered floor in a way that seemed almost too perfect, too stagelit. She reached for the ceramic mug painted with tiny hearts, her fingers wrapping around its warmth. "Darling, have you seen my briefcase?" Vision called from upstairs, his voice carrying that distinct British lilt she found so endearing. Something flickered at the edge of her vision, the coffee pot. It had been full a moment ago. Now it was empty. Had she already poured? The mug in her hand steamed, answering her question, but the confusion lingered like a word on the tip of her tongue. "Kitchen table," she called back, shaking off the strange feeling. Vision descended the stairs with measured grace, his tall frame perfectly fitted in a cardigan and slacks that belonged in a family sitcom from decades past. Everything about their life felt like that, actually. Comfortable, safe, scripted. "You're a marvel," he said, kissing her cheek. His lips were warm, real, and yet something about the gesture felt rehearsed. "That's my line," Wanda replied automatically, though she couldn't remember where she'd heard that joke before. A sharp knock rattled the front door, 3 precise raps that seemed to echo longer than they should. Agnes burst in before Wanda could answer, carrying a casserole dish covered in aluminum foil. The older woman's smile was wide, perhaps too wide, her southern drawl honey-thick. "Morning, lovebirds. Brought you some breakfast straight-up because what kind of neighbor would I be if I didn't?" She stopped mid-sentence, her face freezing like a paused videotape. Her eyes darted frantically toward Wanda, pupils dilating with what looked like panic or perhaps warning. Her mouth opened and closed, no sound emerging, her hand trembling so violently the casserole dish nearly slipped. "Agnes," Wanda stepped forward, concern flooding through her. "Are you all right?" The moment passed. Agnes blinked and her smile snapped back into place so quickly Wanda wondered if she'd imagined the whole thing. "Of course, sugar. Just remembered I left my oven on. That's a lie, I didn't, but wouldn't that be something? Anyway, enjoy." She thrust the dish into Wanda's hands and hurried out, but not before catching Wanda's eyes one more time. In that brief second, Wanda saw something desperate, something conscious beneath the cheerful facade. Then Agnes was gone, the door closing with a sitcom-perfect sound effect that seemed to come from nowhere. "She's certainly energetic this morning," Vision observed, but his tone carried a question mark. Wanda set the casserole down, her hands suddenly cold despite the warm dish. "Vision, did that seem strange to you?" "Define strange." He tilted his head in that particular way he did when processing information. "Actually, darling, I've been meaning to discuss something. Yesterday, I walked to Morrison Avenue and the street simply ended. Not construction, not a dead end. It just stopped, like a wall I couldn't see but could certainly feel." "Maybe you were tired," Wanda offered, but even as she said it, she knew it sounded hollow. "I don't get tired." Vision's response was matter of fact, but then he paused, confusion crossing his features. "Do I? I should know that about myself." The kitchen lights flickered, once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession like a heartbeat. Wanda's vision blurred. For just a moment, she wasn't standing in a cheerful kitchen but somewhere dark, somewhere cold, somewhere filled with grief so heavy it could crush worlds. A voice, her voice, screaming a name she couldn't quite hear. Red energy crackling from her hands, tearing reality apart. Then she was back, gasping, gripping the counter for support. "Wanda!" Vision was beside her instantly, his hands on her shoulders, his expression more concerned than she'd ever seen, more real than she'd ever seen. "What happened?" "I don't know," she whispered, and it was the truest thing she'd said since waking up in this perfect house in this perfect town that she couldn't remember moving to. "Vision, where are we? How long have we lived here?" He opened his mouth to answer, but no words came. He frowned, calculating, searching his memory. We've always lived here, haven't we?" The question hung between them like a crack in glass, small now but threatening to spread. Outside, a car drove past, the same red sedan, for the third time, with the same driver waving the same wave at the same speed. Wanda watched it disappear around the corner, knowing with sudden certainty it would return in exactly 2 minutes to repeat its loop. "Vision," she said quietly, "I think something is very wrong with Westview." The morning air should have been crisp, refreshing. Instead, it tasted recycled, like breathing inside a snow globe. Wanda walked beside Vision down Maple Street, watching neighbors tend gardens with mechanical precision, each movement somehow identical to the last time they'd performed it. There. Vision pointed toward the end of the boulevard where houses gave way to trees. Morrison Avenue wasn't the only place. Every exit from Westview leads to the same phenomenon. They walked in silence, passing Mrs. Hart watering her roses. The woman smiled and waved, then turned back to her flowers. 30 seconds later, she looked up, smiled the identical smile, waved the identical wave. She's looping, Wanda whispered. A chill ran through her that had nothing to do with temperature. Vision, they're all looping. Not when we directly engage them, he observed. Watch, he called out, good morning, Mrs. Hart. The woman's face animated differently, more naturally. Oh, Vision. Lovely day, isn't it? Perfect weather for the neighborhood watch meeting tonight. What neighborhood watch meeting? Vision asked. Mrs. Hart's smile flickered. Her mouth opened but no words emerged, just like Agnes earlier. Her hand kept watering the same rose over and over, water pooling at its base, flooding the flower bed. She didn't seem to notice. Mrs. Hart, Wanda touched the woman's shoulder. The moment snapped. Mrs. Hart blinked, smiled again. Sorry, dear, wool gathering. This heat has me distracted. She went back to her roses, resetting her loop, though the sun hung mild and gentle overhead. Vision's jaw tightened, the closest thing to fear Wanda had seen on his face. Come on. The streets grew quieter as they approached the town's edge. Fewer houses, less activity. The trees ahead formed a wall of green that looked painted rather than grown. Each leaf seemed outlined too sharply, colors too saturated. Vision, maybe we should go back. The words surprised Wanda even as she spoke them. Why didn't she want to investigate? Some instinct screamed at her to turn around, to return to the house, to preserve the comfortable lie. But Vision pressed forward, and she couldn't let him go alone. The forest began abruptly, no gradual transition from suburb to wilderness. One step, sidewalk. Next step, dirt path beneath dense canopy. Wanda's heart hammered against her ribs, each beat seeming to echo wrong, wrong, wrong. Then Vision stopped so suddenly, she nearly collided with him. What is it? He reached forward, his hand stopping midair as though pressing against glass. But there was no glass, just air that rippled red where his fingers touched it, spreading outward in concentric circles like a stone dropped in crimson water. A barrier, he breathed. Wanda, there's a barrier around the entire town. She stepped closer, her own hand rising. The moment her fingers brushed the invisible surface, pain lanced through her skull. Images flooded her mind, a gray facility, a body on a table, Vision's body disassembled, lifeless. Her own hands glowing red, tearing through walls, through reality itself, screaming and screaming and... No, she jerked back, gasping. Darling, Vision caught her as her knees buckled. What did you see? I don't, you were. The memory was already fading, slippery as dreams in morning light. But the grief remained, a yawning chasm in her chest that hadn't been there before. Or had it? Had it always been there, hidden beneath the sitcom veneer of their life? We need to understand what this is, Vision said, still supporting her weight. Who would trap an entire town? For what purpose? Maybe it's protecting us. Even as Wanda said it, she didn't believe it. Footsteps crunched behind them. They turned to find a man approaching, silver-haired, athletic build, grinning with the kind of confidence that made Wanda's chest ache for reasons she couldn't name. There you guys are, he jogged up, not even slightly winded. Sis, you can't just disappear without telling me. I've been looking everywhere. Sis, the word felt foreign and familiar simultaneously. Wanda stared at him, this stranger who called her sister, and something in her recognized him. Pietro. His name was Pietro, her brother, her twin. But that was impossible because he was. He was what? The thought dissolved before completing itself. Pietro, she said uncertainly. The one and only. He threw an arm around her shoulder, and the casual affection felt both completely right and entirely wrong. What are you two doing out here in the creepy woods? There's nothing past the town limits but more boring trees. Come on, Agnes is making paprikash. Said it's your favorite, Wanda. Paprikash. The word triggered something. Her mother's hands kneading dough, the smell of spices. A small apartment in a city reduced to rubble. A life before this one, a life that hurt to remember. How long have you been in Westview? Vision asked Pietro, his tone carefully neutral. How long? Pietro laughed. Forever, man, since always. Where else would I be? And you've never wondered what's beyond the town? Vision gestured toward the barrier. Pietro looked where he pointed, but his eyes seemed to slide off the space, unable to focus. Beyond. There's nothing beyond Westview. This is home. His smile never wavered, but something behind his eyes was hollow, like a photograph of a person rather than the person themselves. Wanda's stomach turned. Pietro, do you remember Sokovia? What's Sokovia? He asked it cheerfully without curiosity, like reciting a line. Our home, she pressed. Where we grew up, the bombing, the Avengers, any of it. Pietro's face went blank, smooth as an empty canvas. For 3 full seconds he didn't breathe, didn't blink. Then he snapped back, grinning. You're messing with me. Good one, sis. Come on, let's go home. He started walking back toward town, whistling a tune that glitched halfway through, skipping like a scratched record before smoothing out again. Vision and Wanda exchanged looks. The barrier shimmered behind them, red and impassable, holding them in, or holding something else out. We're trapped, Vision said quietly. Or kept safe, Wanda replied, but she could hear the desperation in her own voice, the need to believe the lie. In the distance, Pietro called back, You coming? Agnes is waiting. And despite everything, despite the loops and the barrier and the wrongness permeating every molecule of this place, Wanda found herself wanting to follow him back to that cheerful house with its too-perfect kitchen, to pretend for just a little longer that everything was fine. Vision took her hand. Whatever this is, we'll face it together. She squeezed his fingers, solid and real and somehow impossible. Together, she echoed, and they walked back toward Westview, leaving the crimson barrier shimmering behind them like a wound in the world. The hex pulsed like a living heart, crimson energy rippling across its surface in waves that distorted the air. From 30 yards back, Monica Rambeau stood beside her sword tactical van, binoculars pressed to her face, though they did little good. The barrier refused to be observed clearly, sliding out of focus whenever she tried to trace its edges. Still nothing, asked Rodriguez, her partner, tapping coordinates into a tablet. It's like trying to look at the sun, Monica lowered the binoculars. Every scan we run comes back nonsense. Radiation signatures that shouldn't exist, energy readings that contradict themselves. A ripple of orange light sparked beside them, geometric patterns folding space into impossible angles. Monica's hand moved to her sidearm, then relaxed as Dr. Stephen Strange stepped through the portal, his cloak of levitation settling around his shoulders. Still here, Doctor. Monica had grown accustomed to his periodic appearances over the past week, thought the Sorcerer Supreme had better things to do than watch a town sit still. This isn't just a town sitting still. Strange approached the barrier, his scarred hands moving in precise gestures, golden symbols materializing and fading. This is chaos magic on a scale I've never encountered. Reality isn't just bent here, Agent Rambeau. It's being rewritten, moment by moment. Can you break through? I've tried 17 different approaches. The barrier adapts to counter each one. His jaw tightened with frustration. Monica recognized, the look of someone used to solving problems confronting one that wouldn't yield. Whoever created this is powerful enough to rival. He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes going distant. His hands rose instinctively, fingers splayed as though catching something invisible. Dr. Strange, Monica stepped closer. His voice, when it came, wasn't entirely his own. Layered beneath it, Monica heard something else, older, female, desperate. The girl doesn't know, spell went wrong. Salem name Harkness. Can't break free. She's trapped us all. Strange gasped, stumbling backward. The cloak steadied him. What was that? Monica demanded. A message. He pressed fingers to his temple. Someone inside is reaching out. A witch named Harkness. She claims the person responsible doesn't know they're doing this. Doesn't know? How do you accidentally trap an entire town? Strange's expression darkened. There's only one person I know with power like this, untrained enough to lose control so catastrophically. He turned to Monica. Vision's body went missing from your facility the same day this appeared. Down to the hour. Then we have our answer, and our problem. Strange looked back at the hex, red light reflecting in his eyes. Wanda Maximoff is inside that barrier, and if she doesn't know she created it, convincing her to stop will be nearly impossible. Vision watched Pietro from across the town square, observing his brother-in-law interact with other residents. The man moved with inhuman speed in small bursts, retrieving a dropped grocery bag before the owner noticed, appearing beside the mailbox having crossed 20 feet in a blink. Yet no one reacted. They simply incorporated his impossible movements into their loops, their scripts. Hey Vis, Pietro jogged over, arriving faster than running should allow. What's with the secret agent routine? You've been watching me for 10 minutes. No point in subtlety now. Where were you before Westview? Pietro's grin didn't falter. I told you, man, I've always been here. And your speed, your abilities, do you remember how you acquired them? Born with it, I guess. Pietro shrugged, unconcerned by questions that should have troubled him. Same as you being all synthezoid. Why? Do you remember dying? Vision asked quietly. For a moment, just one, something flickered across Pietro's face. Pain, recognition, the shadow of a memory trying to surface. His mouth opened and Vision leaned forward, hoping for truth. Then Pietro laughed, loud and empty. Dying? Dude, I'm standing right here. You feeling okay? Want me to get Wanda? No. Vision stepped back, recognition settling cold in his processors. This wasn't Pietro Maximoff. This was something wearing his shape, speaking his words, a puppet animated by the same force controlling everything else. I'm fine. Forget I asked. Pietro was already moving away, his attention span resetting. Cool, cool, catch you later. Vision watched him go, certainty crystallizing. Whatever Pietro was, he existed because Wanda needed him too. The question was whether she knew what she'd created. Wanda found Agnes in her garden, pruning roses with shears that caught the light too sharply, each snip precise as clockwork. The older woman looked up, her smile automatic. Wanda, dear, come to help with the roses. I need to ask you something. Wanda glanced around, ensuring they were alone. Yesterday, when you brought the casserole, you tried to tell me something about this place not being right. Agnes's hand stilled on the shears. Her smile remained fixed, but her eyes showed something different, fear, and behind it, fierce intelligence fighting against invisible bonds. I don't know what you mean, hun. The words came out stilted, wrong, like someone reading phonetically in an unfamiliar language. Yes, you do. Agnes, please, the loops, the barrier, Pietro not remembering anything before Westview. You know something. Agnes's face spasmed, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. The shears fell from her grip, hitting the dirt. Her hands rose to her throat as though choking on words that wouldn't come. When she finally spoke, it emerged as a whisper that seemed torn from her. Run, while you, still. Then her face smoothed, the struggle disappearing. My goodness, I dropped my shears, silly me. Wanda, did you need something, dear? Wanda's heart pounded. Who's doing this to you? Who's controlling everyone? Controlling? Honey, no one's controlling anyone. We're all exactly where we want to be. Agnes picked up her shears, smiling that empty smile. Aren't you happy here? Don't you love your life? Your perfect house, your perfect husband, your perfect brother back from. She stopped. Her expression flickered again, desperate. Back from where, Agnes? Back from wherever he was. Now stop being such a worrywart. Go home, be happy. Please, Wanda, just be happy. The plea in those last words struck Wanda like a physical blow. Agnes wasn't warning her away from danger. She was begging Wanda not to dig deeper, not to shatter whatever protected them here. Vision materialized beside her. We need to talk. Pietro isn't who he appears to be. I know. Wanda looked at Agnes, who had returned to her roses, pruning with mechanical precision. Nothing here is what it appears. Then we investigate further, find the source, break free. Or, Wanda turned to face her husband, the weight of unspoken grief pressing against her chest. Or we accept that some questions don't need answers. We have a home, Vision. We have each other. Pietro's here, alive, even if he doesn't remember everything. Isn't that enough? Wanda, people are trapped, suffering. Are they? Look around. Everyone seems content. Maybe this is mercy, not prison. She heard the desperation in her voice, the need to believe it, because the alternative, that she'd somehow caused this, that her grief had weaponized itself, was too terrible to accept. Can't we just let it be? Vision's expression showed the answer before he spoke. But Wanda had already turned away, walking back toward their house, toward the comfortable lie, leaving her husband standing in Agnes's garden with questions that threatened to unravel everything. Behind them, Agnes pruned her roses, and beneath her breath, too quiet for anyone to hear, whispered words in a language dead for centuries, prayers to gods who'd long stopped listening. Vision waited until Wanda left for the market before beginning his true investigation. He learned that observation required distance, and distance required deception, a concept that sat uncomfortably in his synthetic chest. He walked to the edge of Westview's commercial district, where shops lined Main Street in perfect symmetry. Mrs. Hart stood outside the pharmacy, her hand raised in a wave, her mouth open mid-greeting. She wasn't moving, not breathing, not blinking, frozen like a photograph. Vision approached slowly. Mrs. Hart. Nothing. Her eyes stared past him, fixed on some invisible point. He waved his hand before her face. No reaction. Then, testing a theory that made his processors rebel against their own logic, he stepped back 15 feet. Mrs. Hart completed her wave. Wonderful to see you. Lovely day, isn't it? She blinked, smiled, and walked into the pharmacy as though nothing had occurred. Vision's hands trembled. He moved to the next block. The mailman stood mid-step, letters clutched in one hand. Frozen. Vision retreated 20 feet. The man resumed walking, whistling, delivering mail to boxes he'd probably filled yesterday and would fill again tomorrow. At the park, he found a dozen people scattered like mannequins. A woman pushing an empty swing that hung motionless. A man reading a newspaper with his eyes locked on a single word. Children suspended mid-laugh. All of them beyond some invisible radius that seemed centered on. No, Vision whispered, but he knew. The radius centered on wherever Wanda was. These people only existed, only lived when she was near enough to observe them. The rest of the time, they simply stopped. He thought of theater sets he'd seen in Wanda's memories, props and extras waiting in darkness for the star to arrive and bring them to life. His wife wasn't just trapped in this place. She was its son, and everyone else merely orbited, frozen in her absence. Vision phased through space, moving faster than running, returning home with a destination born of dread and certainty. Wanda sat at the kitchen table, watching Pietro devour his third sandwich. Her brother, if that's what he truly was, ate with mechanical enthusiasm, each bite identical to the last. "You don't remember Sokovia at all?" she asked again, unable to stop herself. "Sakov what?" Pietro spoke through a mouthful of bread. "That a restaurant?" "It's where we grew up. Where we," she stopped, "where we watched our parents die, where we volunteered for experiments, where you died saving a child from bullets that tore through your body." But those memories felt distant, muffled, like stories someone had told her about different people. "You okay, sis?" Pietro reached across the table, his hand closing over hers. His touch felt real, warm, solid. "You've been weird since yesterday." "I've been remembering things from before." "Before what?" The door opened with enough force to rattle the hinges. Vision stood in the doorway, his expression something Wanda had never seen before, anger, barely controlled, threading through his features like cracks in ice. "Pietro, leave us," Vision said, his voice clipped. "Whoa, Vis, who put a bug in your—" "Now." Pietro glanced between them, shrugged, and was gone in a blur of motion that left the sandwich spinning on the table. Wanda stood. "What's wrong?" "The people of Westview. What happens to them when you're not watching?" The question landed like a physical blow. "I don't know what you—" "They freeze, Wanda, like dolls put back on a shelf." Mrs. Hart stood motionless for 3 full minutes until I moved closer. The mailman, the children in the park, all of them suspended, waiting for you to notice them again. "That's not possible." "I saw it." He moved closer, his eyes searching hers. "This entire town operates according to your presence, your attention, don't you see? You're not trapped here, you're creating it." "No," the word came out sharp, defensive. Red light flickered around her fingers. "I didn't do this. I don't have that kind of power." "You have exactly that kind of power. Chaos magic, Strange called it. Reality manipulation." "Stop." "The barrier is red, Wanda. The same red as your energy. Pietro doesn't remember being dead because you've remade him. Agnes can't speak freely because you've scripted her. All of it, every loop, every glitch, every impossible thing, traces back to you." "You're wrong." The lights flickered, the walls groaned. The very air seemed to thicken with pressure. "I would never trap people, never hurt anyone, I just wanted—" She stopped, but Vision finished for her. "You wanted me back. You wanted your brother back. You wanted a life where no one dies and nothing hurts and we can just be happy." His voice softened, breaking. "Wanda, I understand, but this isn't life. It's imprisonment." "It's mercy," she insisted, tears streaming down her face. "They don't remember what they lost. They don't hurt. Isn't that better than the alternative?" "Not if they never chose it." The words hung between them, a chasm opening where their marriage had stood. Wanda felt something inside her chest crack, and with it, her control. The house shuddered, windows cracked, red energy erupted from her hands, pouring out in waves she couldn't contain. "Get out, get away from me." "Wanda." I said get out. The energy exploded outward, a nova of crimson light that punched through walls, through streets, through the very fabric of reality. Vision staggered backward, phasing reflexively as the wave passed through him and beyond, racing toward the town's edge and further, expanding, expanding, expanding. Monica saw it coming half a second before it hit. Move, she grabbed Strange's arm, pulling him backward as the hex wall surged forward like a tsunami. The barrier consumed ground in massive gulps, 10 feet, 20, 50. Agents scrambling to evacuate, vehicles abandoned, equipment swallowed by crimson light. Strange threw up a shield, golden symbols blazing, but the hex crashed against it with the force of a collapsing star. The shield held for 3 seconds, then shattered. The red wall slammed into them both. Monica felt it enter her body, rewriting her at the molecular level, and screamed as her cells learned to sing in frequencies they'd never known. Strange's portal snapped closed mid-formation, stranding him as the magic invaded his defenses. When Monica opened her eyes, she wore a beige pantsuit and held a clipboard. Around her, other agents had transformed, period clothing, frozen smiles, their memories already rewriting. Strange stood beside her in a brown suit and tie, his expression struggling between his true self and the role being forced upon him. "We're inside," Monica whispered, horrified. "We're inside the hex." Before Strange could respond, his face smoothed into a pleasant smile. "Of course we're inside. Where else would we be, darling? Now about that dinner party." Monica felt her own thoughts beginning to fog, her mission slipping away like water through fingers. She fought it, clinging to her name, her purpose, even as Westview reached into her mind and began to rewrite who she was. Somewhere in the distance, she heard a woman screaming. Somewhere closer, she felt herself starting to forget why that should matter. Wanda ran until her lungs burned, until the neat suburban streets blurred into streaks of color, until she couldn't see Vision's face anymore, hurt and righteous and right about everything. She collapsed in Agnes's backyard, between the immaculate rose bushes and the white picket fence that looked like every other fence in Westview. Her hands still glowed red, pulsing with energy that had nowhere to go. She'd felt the hex expand, felt it swallow more land, more people, pulling them into her delusion like a riptide. "Oh, sweetheart." Wanda looked up. Agnes stood on her porch, silhouetted against the kitchen light, wearing an apron that said "Witch in the Kitchen," a joke that suddenly felt obscene. "I didn't mean to," Wanda choked out. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Agnes descended the steps slowly, each movement deliberate. When she reached Wanda, she knelt with difficulty, her elderly joints creaking. But her eyes were different, sharp, ancient, awake. "I know you didn't, dear." Agnes's voice had changed too, losing its theatrical southern lilt. What remained was something older, edged with an accent that belonged to a different century. "That's rather the problem, isn't it?" Wanda stared. "Agnes." "Not exactly." The woman's face spasmed, her mouth fighting against invisible restraints. Words came out in gasps, each one a battle. "Agatha, my name is Agatha Harkness. I was a witch. Salem, 1693. They burned my coven, took my magic." "I don't understand." "You came to me." Agatha's whole body shook with effort, her face reddening as she forced words past whatever controlled her. "2 months ago, you found me in New Hampshire, said your powers were destroying you, begged me to take them away." Memory crashed through Wanda like breaking glass. A cottage in the woods, an old woman's suspicious eyes, her own voice raw with grief. "Please, I can't control it anymore. I see him everywhere. I'm losing my mind." "No," Wanda whispered. "I told you I had no magic left, but you insisted, so I—" Agatha's face contorted in agony. "I tried a binding spell, ancient magic. It should have locked your powers away, made you normal. But chaos magic doesn't bind, it mutates, it—" The words cut off. Agatha's mouth snapped shut, her face smoothing into that familiar neighborly pleasantness. But she fought it, clawing back to consciousness with visible strain. "The spell backfired," she gasped. "Your grief, your need, it twisted everything. You wanted to forget the pain, wanted him back. So your magic, it made a place where you could. But it needed material." "Material." Agatha grabbed Wanda's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "Vision's body, Wanda. You took it from that government facility. The same night. Don't you remember?" The world tilted. Wanda saw it in fragments, red light, security alarms, a sterile operating theater. Vision's body on a table, disassembled, violated. her hands reaching out, energy pouring from her fingers, taking, stealing, kneading. No, no, no. And Pietro, Agatha's voice cracked with sympathy and horror mingled together. Sweetheart, Pietro's been dead for years, but you couldn't bear it, so you made a new body, conjured flesh from nothing. That's why he doesn't remember, he's not your brother. He's your grief wearing his face. Wanda pulled away, scrambling backward. You're lying, he's real. Vision is real, I can touch them, I can. They're real because you're making them real. Every second of every day, your magic is rewriting physics to keep them alive. Agatha crawled forward, tears streaming down her weathered face. And the rest of us are caught in it, puppets. I've tried to warn you, tried to break through, but your magic won't let me. Won't let anyone. It protects you from the truth by keeping us all scripted. Then how are you talking now? Because you're breaking, darling, your control is slipping. The hex is expanding because you're losing your grip. Agatha's hand found Wanda's cheek, gentle despite everything. You stole Vision's corpse and puppeted it with magic. You created a simulacrum of your dead brother. You imprisoned hundreds of people in a fantasy. And you did it all without knowing because that's what chaos magic does. It manifests desire without permission, without consequence, without. Agatha's eyes went blank. Her hand dropped. When she spoke again, her voice was bright, cheerful, empty. Oh my stars, Wanda, what are you doing in my garden? You'll catch cold. Come inside, I'll make cocoa. The script had reasserted itself, but the damage was done. Wanda stood on shaking legs, her mind a carousel of stolen images. Vision's body, gray and lifeless, jerking into motion under her hands. Pietro's form crystallizing from red mist, a golem made from memory. The spell that had gone wrong, her grief weaponized. An entire town sacrificed to her inability to accept loss. I'm a monster, she whispered. Nonsense, Agnes, Agatha, whoever she was beamed at her. You're just a woman who loves her family. Now come on, dear. That husband of yours is probably worried sick. But as Agnes turned away, Wanda saw her hand move in a gesture that might have been coincidence. Might have been something else. A symbol traced in the air, so quick Wanda almost missed it. A rune, a plea. A message in a language that predated Westview by centuries. Help us. Wanda walked home through streets that had expanded beyond recognition. New houses, new people, all of them pulled into her gravitational field of denial. She'd stolen more than Vision's body. She'd stolen their lives. Vision waited on their porch, his face carefully neutral. Behind him, Pietro lounged against the doorframe, present because she needed him to be, alive because she couldn't bear otherwise. Two dead men walking, her fault, her magic, her grief made manifest and monstrous. Wanda, Vision's voice was soft, careful, as though she might shatter. Are you all right? She looked at her husband, her stolen, reanimated, impossible husband, and felt something fundamental break inside her chest. I need to tell you something, she said, about what I've done. Wanda stood on the porch, Vision's expectant face before her, Pietro's casual presence behind him like a mockery of everything she'd lost. The words formed in her throat, heavy and sharp. I stole your body. I created him from nothing. I've imprisoned hundreds of people. But before she could speak, the memories came. Not gentle, not gradual. They slammed into her skull like shrapnel. Thanos' gauntlet glowing with infinite stones. Her hands pressed against Vision's forehead, the Mind Stone dissolving under her power, his body crumpling as the light died in his eyes. Her own voice screaming. The Titan's purple fingers reaching down, casually rewinding time, resurrecting Vision just to kill him again, ripping the stone from his head like plucking a flower. She staggered, gasping. Wanda, Vision reached for her. Don't, she flinched away, because she remembered now. Remembered kneeling over his gray corpse in the Wakandon grass. Remembered the funeral with an empty casket because Sword had taken him, claimed him, cut him into pieces to study like a machine instead of the man he'd been. The man he'd been. She looked at Vision, this Vision, standing before her in their perfect Westview home, and saw the truth. Saw the puppet strings of red energy connecting his every atom to her will. He wasn't breathing. Didn't need to. She just made him pretend because that's what living things did. I killed you, she whispered. I destroyed the stone. You died in my arms. Vision's face shifted through confusion, concern, something that might have been recognition. Wanda, I don't. And Pietro. She turned to her brother who smiled that easy smile that had never belonged to the real Pietro, the one who died in Sokovia taking bullets meant for Clint Barton. You're not him. You don't even have his face right. His eyes were different. His voice, God, his voice. The world began to shudder. Pietro's smile didn't waver, but something flickered behind his eyes. A glitch, a crack in the code. Sis, you're not making sense. Because you only know what I remember, her voice cracked. And I can't even remember him right anymore. I'm losing him. I'm losing all of it. The only way I can keep you is to make you wrong. The air thickened. The colors of their street, too bright, too perfect, began to oversaturate, bleeding into each other like wet paint. Wanda, Vision stepped forward, and this time she let him take her hands. His touch was warm because she made it so, real because she needed it. Whatever you've done, we can. I can't, the confession tore out of her. I can't fix it, because fixing it means losing you again. And I can't survive that, not again. The memory of his death played on loop behind her eyes. The Mind Stone dying. His body falling. The weight of him, heavy and lifeless, as she held him and screamed and felt something fundamental shatter inside her chest. Something that had never healed, never could heal. Because the universe was cruel and love was meaningless and nothing good ever survived. No, the word came from somewhere deep, somewhere primal. No, I don't want this. I don't want to know. I want. She wanted the coffee pot that filled itself. The neighbor who brought casseroles. The brother who'd never died. The husband who'd never been torn apart. She wanted the simple problems of sitcom life, where every conflict resolved in 30 minutes, where death was temporary and love was guaranteed and no one ever really hurt. The hex responded. It started with sound, a record scratch, sharp and discordant. Then the light changed, flickering like old film, and Wanda felt her clothes shift, her hair rearrange itself. Vision's form blurred, his colors washing out to grayscale. Inside a sword van that was no longer a sword van, Monica Rambeau gasped as her consciousness suddenly reasserted itself. She'd been under for how long? Time felt slippery. She'd been someone else. A mailwoman, a librarian. The role kept shifting, rewriting itself around her. But now her mind cleared with sharp, painful clarity, and she looked down to see her hands glowing with faint blue light. The hex's energy had changed her, rewritten her on a cellular level when it pulled her in. She looked out the window and froze. Westview was rewinding. People walked backward. Cars drove in reverse. The sun arced across the sky in the wrong direction. And through it all, a wave of red energy pulsed outward from a house at the center of town, resetting everything in its path. No, Monica breathed. She could feel it coming, feel the script trying to reassert itself, to pull her back into whatever role Wanda's subconscious had assigned her. No, not again. She ran. At the house, Wanda felt the reset taking hold, felt her memories blurring at the edges. The battle with Thanos fading. Vision's death becoming abstract. Pietro's real face dissolving into comfortable fiction. It would be easy. So easy. Just let go. Let the hex rewrite everything back to the beginning, back to when she didn't know, didn't remember, didn't have to carry the weight of what she'd done. Wanda, please. Vision's voice pulled at her, but he was already changing, his memories resetting, his awareness dimming. Soon he'd forget this conversation, forget her confession, forget everything but the script. Don't do this. Don't hide from. His words cut off. His eyes went blank. When they cleared, they held no recognition of the last few minutes, the last few days. Darling, he said in that cheerful 1950s sitcom cadence. Why are we standing on the porch? Weren't we just having dinner? Wanda closed her eyes as the reset wave washed over her, erasing, smoothing, fixing everything back to perfect. I'm sorry, she thought to the town, to Vision, to herself. I'm so sorry. But not sorry enough to stop. When she opened her eyes, the world was black and white, and her clothes were a perfect 1950s housewife dress, and Vision was straightening his tie, and Pietro didn't exist yet because this was before she'd needed him, before the cracks had shown. Good morning, dear, she heard herself say brightly, the words automatic, scripted. Isn't it a lovely day in Westview? But somewhere in the back of her resetting mind, a small voice whispered the truth she couldn't quite erase. You're killing them, all of them, and you can't stop. The reset wave hit Monica like a physical force, trying to rewrite her cells, her memories, her entire existence into something compliant. But the hex had already changed her once. Her DNA hummed with its energy now, recognized it, pushed back against it. She stumbled through streets that flickered between decades, watching Westview residents stutter through their loops. A man mowing his lawn in color suddenly shifted to black and white, then back, his face blank with each transition. A woman hanging laundry repeated the same motion 7 times in 3 seconds. Monica ran toward the red glow at the town center, toward the house where all the energy converged. Inside, Wanda stood at her kitchen counter pouring coffee with mechanical precision. The pot filled the cup. The pot was full again. Fill, reset, fill, reset. Her smile never wavered, painted on like stage makeup. "Good morning," Wanda said to the empty room. "Isn't it a lovely, isn't it a hit?" The front door crashed open. Monica's hands glowed with blue-white energy, her entire body radiating light that pushed back the red haze. She looked wrong here. Too real, too solid, colors too vibrant against the washed-out sitcom set. "Wanda Maximoff." Monica's voice cut through the cheerful music playing from nowhere. "You need to stop this, right now." Wanda turned, and for a moment her eyes were clear, terrified. Then the smile returned. "I'm sorry, I don't think we've been introduced. I'm Wanda and you are." "I'm someone who's been trapped in your grief for 3 days." Monica stepped closer. The air around her rippled, reality bending away from her like oil from water. "I've been a mail carrier, a doctor, a librarian. You kept rewriting me. Do you even know you're doing it?" The coffee pot shattered. Wanda stared at the broken glass, at her trembling hands. I'm not. "Vision is dead." Monica's words landed like hammer blows. "You're animating his corpse with chaos magic. Pietro is dead. You're puppeting an illusion. And every person in this town is screaming inside their own head, trapped in whatever role you've assigned them." "No," Wanda's voice cracked. "No, I fixed it. I reset everything. We were happy." "They're dying, Wanda. Their minds are fragmenting. Some of them have been frozen in place for days, aware but unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything but play their part in your fantasy." The walls began to pulse, breathing in and out. The black and white palette flickered, color bleeding through in patches. "Wanda," Vision's voice came from the stairs. He descended slowly, his form glitching, 1950s gray suit, 2000s casual wear, his synthetic skin, raw vibranium back again. "What's happening? I feel. I remember. We had this conversation already. Multiple times. How many times have we had this conversation?" He looked at Monica and recognition sparked in his eyes. You're not from Westview, you're from outside, from SWORD." His gaze snapped to Wanda. "She's from the organization that was studying my body after I died. I did die, didn't I?" The front door opened again, too cheerful, too loud. Pietro bounded in with a casserole dish. "Hey sis, Agnes wanted me to bring." He froze mid-step. His face glitched, features scrambling, reassembling wrong. One eye too high, mouth at an angle. "Bring this, bring this, bring." "Oh God." Wanda backed against the counter. "Pietro, I'm sorry, I didn't mean." "What am I?" Pietro's voice distorted, layered over itself. "What am I? I can't remember anything before Westview. I can't remember Sokovia. I can't remember our parents. I don't remember dying, but I know I died. You told me, but I can't." He collapsed into pixels of red energy, then reformed, then collapsed again, stuck in a loop. Vision looked at his own hands, watching them flicker in and out of solidity. "I need answers. I need to understand what's real." He walked toward the door. "Vision, don't." Wanda started forward. "I'm going to the barrier." His voice carried quiet devastation. "If I'm real, it won't hurt me. If I'm not, I need to know." He left. Wanda stood frozen, torn between stopping him and confronting the truth Monica had forced into the open. Monica's expression softened slightly. "I lost my mother 2 months ago, cancer. I was on a mission when she went into surgery. I wasn't there when she died. If I could build a world where she was still alive, where I could have one more day with her. I understand the temptation. But Wanda, this isn't mercy. It's torture. For them and for you. I can't let him die again." Wanda's voice broke. "I can't survive it. The first time destroyed me. If I let go, if I release this, he disappears. Forever. Really forever. And I'll be alone with what I've done." "You're not alone." Monica reached out slowly, carefully. "People want to help you, but first you have to stop hurting them." Wanda's phone rang. Anachronistic, wrong for the decade. She answered it automatically, and Vision's voice came through, distorted by static. "Wanda, I've reached the boundary. Something's wrong. I'm deteriorating. Wanda, I can't. Please." The call cut off. Wanda's eyes blazed red. Every window in the house shattered outward. "No, no, I won't lose him again. I won't." Chaos magic erupted from her in waves, and Monica felt it slam against her, felt the hex expanding, consuming more territory, more people, feeding itself on Wanda's desperation. Wanda rose into the air, power spiraling around her, and Monica saw the exact moment the realization hit. Wanda looked at her glowing hands, at the red energy reshaping reality, at Monica struggling against the wave, at Pietro still glitching on the floor, at the town beyond warping to her will. "It's me," she whispered, horror and understanding flooding her face. "I'm doing this. I'm the threat. I'm the one destroying everything." But even as she spoke, the hex expanded further, her subconscious overriding her conscious mind, and vision, somewhere at the barrier, was pulled back together by stolen reality, saved by the very prison that damned them all. The hex swelled outward like a crimson tide, consuming street after street, pulling reality into Wanda's gravitational collapse. She hovered above her house, power cascading from her hands, caught between horror at what she'd done and the primal need to save Vision, to keep him breathing, to refuse his death one more time. Monica braced against the expanding wave, her body luminous with absorbed energy. The hex recognized her now. She'd been rewritten so many times her cells had adapted, learned its frequency. She was part of it and separate from it simultaneously, existing in the space between Wanda's will and objective reality. That's when she felt him. A presence pushed against the barrier from outside, precise and controlled, seeking entry through the chaos. Doctor Strange. She could sense his consciousness probing the hex's structure, looking for a weakness, a gap, anything. Monica Rambeau. His voice echoed in her mind, clear despite the distortion. "I need you to hold your position. Don't let the hex rewrite you again. You're resonating with both realities. You're the door I need." Monica gritted her teeth, planting her feet as red energy crashed over her. Her hands blazed brighter, pushing back. "Hurry. I don't know how long I can maintain this." The air beside her tore open. Doctor Strange stepped through the rip in reality, his cloak of levitation billowing in winds that existed between dimensions. Orange mandalas spun around his hands, weaving protective sigils that held back Wanda's chaos magic. His eyes found Wanda immediately, still floating above the house, lost in her grief-fueled power. "Wanda Maximoff," his voice cut through the maelstrom, "you need to stop." Wanda's head snapped toward him. Her eyes glowed crimson, tears streaming down her face. "I can't. Vision is dying at the barrier. If I don't expand the hex, he's already dead." Strange's words were surgical, necessary cruelty. "What you're animating is a memory given form, and every second you sustain it, you're killing real people." "I know," the confession ripped from her throat. "I know what I'm doing, I know they're suffering, but I can't. I don't know how to stop without losing him." Strange floated upward until they were level. Below, the town writhed. People stumbled through streets, their faces cycling through emotions that weren't their own. A woman collapsed, clutching her head. A man screamed silently, his mouth opening and closing on a loop. "Look at them," Strange commanded. "Really look." With a gesture, he pulled the veil back. Wanda saw past the sitcom facades, past the cheerful set dressing, into the minds of Westview's residents. A mother trapped in her kitchen, making the same breakfast for 72 hours, aware of every second, unable to stop, unable to sleep, her sanity fraying like worn thread. A child frozen mid-laugh at a playground, conscious inside the prison of his own body, feeling days pass while his limbs refused to move. Agatha, on her knees in her garden, fighting against Wanda's script with every ounce of her considerable will, managing only to whisper fragments of warnings before being slammed back into her role. "Please." Agatha's voice broke through, raw and desperate. She appeared beside Strange, having torn herself free for precious seconds. Blood ran from her nose from the effort. "Child, I tried to help you. I tried to bind your power safely. But this, what you've created, it's worse than anything I've seen in 3 centuries. You're not just rewriting reality. You're devouring it, consuming these people to fuel your fantasy." Wanda's hands shook. "I came to you for help. I just wanted the pain to stop. I didn't mean for this to happen." "I know." Agatha's expression softened despite her agony. "Grief this profound, it has weight, has power. Your chaos magic gave it form, but intent doesn't erase consequence. These people have families outside Westview. They have lives you've stolen." Vision appeared below, walking out of the house, looking up at his wife surrounded by chaos. His form stabilized, no longer glitching, pulled together by Wanda's desperate expansion of the hex. Wanda, his voice carried perfect clarity. I remember now, all of it, every reset, every conversation we've had about this. You keep trying to tell me the truth and then you panic and reset everything. But I'm part of the hex now. I can feel it when you rewrite reality. I can feel the people screaming. He rose to join them, and Wanda saw her husband, her construct, look at her with complete understanding and infinite sadness. I'm not real, he said gently. I'm your grief and love and guilt given my face, and I'm being sustained by torturing hundreds of innocent people. Every moment I exist, they suffer. No, Wanda reached for him. I can find another way, I can. There is no other way. Strange's voice was firm but not unkind. Chaos magic doesn't create from nothing. It reshapes what exists. You're stealing their life force, their consciousness, their reality to maintain this construct. The hex is feeding on them, and it's feeding on you. Agatha gasped, her borrowed freedom expiring. She fell, but Strange caught her with a spell. She's right about the feeding. Wanda, look at yourself. Strange conjured a mirror of pure light. Wanda saw her reflection, skin pale, eyes sunken, crimson energy writhing beneath her flesh like parasites. The hex was consuming her too, burning her life force to sustain itself. Your chaos magic manifested your deepest need, Strange continued. A world where loss doesn't exist, but that world can't sustain itself. It's collapsing inward and it will take you, Westview, and eventually everything within its expanding radius. You're not just hurting these people, Wanda. You're destroying yourself. Monica spoke up, her voice compassionate. When my mother died, I wanted to tear the world apart. I wanted to reverse time, remake reality, anything to bring her back. But she wouldn't want that. She'd be horrified if I hurt people in her name. She looked at Vision. Would the real Vision want this? Vision met Wanda's eyes. You know the answer. Wanda's power flickered. Below, the town stuttered between decades, between reality and fantasy. Pietro reformed from red mist, looked at his sister with eyes full of borrowed memories and whispered, "Let me go, sis. Let us all go." The choice crystallized before her. Hold on to the fantasy and become a monster, or release everything and face the unbearable truth that the people she loved were gone. Strange extended his hand. I can help you, but you have to choose to let go. The hex answers to you. Only you can end it. Wanda looked at Vision, at Pietro, at the town suffering below, at her own deteriorating reflection. She thought of Tony Stark snapping his fingers, choosing sacrifice over survival. She thought of Natasha throwing herself off a cliff for the Soul Stone. She thought of Vision himself, asking her to destroy him to save the universe. Heroes made impossible choices. Heroes bore unbearable costs. She just didn't know if she was strong enough to be a hero. If I let go, she whispered, I'll have nothing left. You'll have yourself, Strange said, and a chance to honor their memories by being who they believed you were. Wanda closed her eyes, feeling the hex pulse through her, feeling the pain of hundreds of trapped souls, feeling Vision's construct hand slip into hers one final time. Tell me how, she said, opening her eyes. Tell me how to set them free. Strange's hands moved through the air, tracing patterns of orange light. Chaos magic responds to will and emotion. To dismantle the hex, you must consciously release each thread holding it together. Start at the center, your home, and work outward. But Wanda, his expression darkened. Your subconscious won't surrender easily. The hex is your armor against pain. It will defend itself. Wanda nodded, descending toward her house. Vision floated beside her, his hand still in hers. Monica and Strange followed while Agatha collapsed against a fence, too drained to continue. The moment Wanda's feet touched her lawn, the ground split open. Crimson energy erupted from the fissure, coalescing into a massive figure. Purple skin, golden armor, eyes that held galaxies in extinction. Thanos. Monica stumbled backward. Strange's hands blazed with defensive magic, but Vision stepped forward, standing between Wanda and the manifestation. He's not real, Vision said firmly. He's your fear given form. The Thanos construct spoke with the mad Titan's voice. You could not save him then. You cannot save anyone now. You are weak. You are nothing. Wanda's breathing quickened. She was back on Wakanda, destroying the Mind Stone, watching Vision die in her arms while Thanos approached. The memory had teeth, had claws, had weight enough to crush her. Wanda, Vision's voice cut through. Look at me, not him, me. She met his eyes, brown and kind and completely present. I choose to die, Vision said, repeating words he'd once spoken. So others could live. That choice mattered. Honor it by choosing the same thing now. Choose their lives over your comfort. Wanda's hands ignited. She thrust them forward, not with destruction but with release. You don't control me anymore. The Thanos construct shattered like glass. The house behind them flickered. One wall vanished, revealing the room's true state. Bare wood, no furniture, reality bleeding through the illusion. Progress. But the hex convulsed. From the shadows emerged another figure, skeletal in chrome, its red eyes burning. Ultron. The monster who'd killed her brother, who'd lifted Sokovia into the sky and dropped it like a bomb. You were an experiment, the Ultron manifestation hissed. A weapon. That's all you'll ever be, destruction wearing a woman's face. Monica moved to intervene, but Strange caught her arm. She has to face them herself. We're here to keep the hex from killing her while she does. Wanda stared at the mechanical phantom. How many nightmares had she had about Ultron? How many times had she woken screaming, seeing Pietro's body riddled with bullets? I was a weapon, she said slowly. Hydra made me one. Ultron tried to use me as one, but I chose differently. I became an Avenger. I saved people. The Ultron construct lunged. Wanda didn't flinch. She caught it with bands of red energy, held it suspended. I am not what was done to me, she said. I am what I choose to do next. She closed her fist. The manifestation imploded. Another wall of the house dissolved. The lawn shimmered, revealing cracked pavement beneath the illusion of grass. The hex groaned, reality and fantasy grinding against each other. Pietro appeared, not the construct who'd been wandering Westview but the real Pietro, her twin, as he'd looked the moment before death. Blood on his shirt, shock in his eyes. You let me die, he said. You were right there and you let me die. This one hurt worse than Thanos or Ultron. This one was the wound that never healed. Wanda fell to her knees. I know, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Vision knelt beside her. He chose to save Clint Barton and that child. He chose heroism just like you're choosing now. But I brought him back wrong. Wanda looked at the false Pietro still standing near the fence, watching with hollow eyes. I couldn't even remember him correctly. I failed him twice. No, the voice came from the Pietro memory, but it had changed, softened. You loved me enough to want me back. That's not failure, sis. That's proof I mattered. But you know I'm gone. You've always known. The memory smiled, her brother's real smile, mischievous and warm. Let me rest, he said. I'm tired of running. Wanda stood. She walked to the false Pietro, placed her hand on his chest, and felt the chaos magic thrumming beneath. Thank you for staying as long as you could, she whispered. She pulled the magic back into herself. The construct sighed, relief, not pain, and dissolved into red mist that scattered on a wind that smelled like Sokovia, like her mother's cooking, like childhood before everything broke. The house collapsed behind her, revealing the empty lot it had always been. The hex shrieked. Reality itself tore open. From the wound emerged the worst manifestation yet, not Thanos, not Ultron, not Pietro. Vision, the real one. As he'd looked in the sword facility, disassembled and lifeless, cut open and hollow. You stole me, the corpse Vision said, its voice mechanical and wrong. You violated my body, denied me rest, puppeted my flesh for your fantasy. What you did to me, what you're doing to me, is an abomination. Wanda looked at the Vision standing beside her, the construct she'd made, who developed his own thoughts and feelings through her magic. I know, she told the corpse manifestation. You asked me once, what is grief but love persevering? I didn't understand until now. Grief isn't meant to preserve, it's meant to honor and release. I dishonored you by refusing to let you go. She turned to her Vision, the one who'd argued with her and investigated Westview and called her out when she was wrong. You're not him, she said, tears streaming. But you're not nothing either. You're the best parts of him filtered through my memory. You're proof he existed, that what we had mattered. And I love you for that, but I have to let you rest now. Vision cupped her face. I know. I've known since you told me the truth. I've just been waiting for you to be ready. I'll never be ready. Then be brave instead. He kissed her forehead. When he pulled back, he was already starting to fade, becoming translucent. The corpse manifestation spoke again, but gentler now. You think releasing me means you'll have nothing left, but Wanda, you'll have yourself. That was always enough. I loved you not because you were perfect, but because you were you. Honor that person. She's worth saving. Wanda placed both hands on her Vision's chest, feeling his constructed heartbeat one final time. I love you, she said. I love you, he replied. She pulled the magic back. Vision smiled as he dissipated, his last words carried on red mist. Thank you for bringing me back, even briefly. No one should have that much love and never get to use it. The corpse manifestation vanished. The hex shuddered violently, its foundation crumbling. Strange grabbed Wanda as she collapsed. You're doing it. The hex is destabilizing. One more push and... The sky split apart. From the crimson wound above descended something worse than any manifestation before. Not a person, not a memory. It was Wanda herself. A shadow version, eyes black as voids, wreathed in chaos magic that burned like funeral pyres. You think you can just walk away, the Shadow Wanda snarled. After everything you've done, you're a monster and monsters don't get redemption. They get cages, they get fear, they get what they deserve. Monica stepped forward, her body glowing. That's enough. But the Shadow Wanda raised her hand, and Monica froze mid-step, caught in a bubble of stopped time. Strange attacked with binding spells, but the Shadow swatted them aside. This isn't about them, Shadow Wanda said, advancing on the real Wanda. This is about you and me, the part of yourself you can't face, your guilt, your shame, your certainty that you deserve nothing but pain. She leaned close, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. So tell me, Wanda Maximoff, what makes you think you deserve forgiveness? Wanda stared at her shadow self, at the embodiment of every cruel thought she'd turned inward since Sokovia, since Ultron, since Thanos. The question hung in the air like a noose. What makes you think you deserve forgiveness? She didn't have an answer, not one that felt true. The Shadow Wanda smiled, victory already tasting sweet. Exactly. You tortured an entire town. You violated Vision's corpse. You created false lives and forced people to live them. You're irredeemable. Wanda's knees buckled. The Shadow was right. How could someone who'd done what she'd done? Stop. The word came from Monica, still frozen but somehow speaking, her eyes glowing white-hot. I've been rewritten 6 times. I remember every role you forced me into, and I'm telling you to stop. The time bubble fractured. Monica stepped through, her body radiating energy that matched Wanda's chaos magic, frequency for frequency. You're in pain, Monica said, walking toward Wanda. Grief is pain, loss is pain, but pain doesn't make you a monster. What you do with it does. And right now, you're choosing to dismantle this. You're choosing to free us. That matters. But the harm I've caused. My mother died while I was gone, Monica interrupted, her voice cracking. Blipped out of existence for 5 years, came back, and she was just gone. I never got to say goodbye. I understand wanting to bring them back to rewrite reality so the pain never happened. God, I understand. She stood beside Wanda, facing the Shadow together. But I also understand that we don't get to steal other people's lives to avoid our own grief. You crossed a line. You know it. But you're uncrossing it now. That's what forgiveness looks like, not erasing what happened but choosing differently going forward. Strange freed himself from the Shadow's magic, moving to Wanda's other side. The girl who became an Avenger after working with Ultron, she understood forgiveness. The woman who fought Thanos after losing everything, she understood sacrifice. You've always known these truths, Wanda. Your shadow wants you to forget them. The Shadow Wanda snarled, growing larger, more monstrous. Philosophy won't erase what she did. No, Wanda said quietly, it won't. She stood, legs shaking but holding. I can't erase it, I can't undo it. I hurt people, good people who never asked to be part of my nightmare. I violated Vision's memory, I trapped Pietro's ghost. I became exactly what I feared. She took a breath. But Monica's right, I'm choosing differently now. And maybe I don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe I'll carry this guilt forever. She stepped toward her shadow. But I deserve a chance to do better. Everyone who ever gave me an opportunity, the Avengers, Vision, Pietro, all of them, they believed people could change. They believed I could be more than Hydra's weapon, more than my worst moment. The Shadow lunged, claws extended. Wanda didn't defend, she opened her arms. I forgive you, she whispered. I forgive us, for being human, for breaking under impossible weight, for not being strong enough to carry this alone. She embraced the Shadow. It screamed rage and anguish and terror, but Wanda held on. I forgive us for grieving, she continued, tears streaming. For loving so much it destroyed us, for wanting impossible things, for being afraid. The Shadow's claws dug in, but Wanda didn't let go. I forgive us for surviving when they didn't, for being alive, for wanting to stay alive. The shadow shuddered, its form flickering. I forgive us for being imperfect, for needing help, for making mistakes. The shadow began to dissolve, its voice becoming smaller, younger. But we hurt them. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. But I can't do that if I let you consume me, so I forgive us. I forgive me. The shadow collapsed into red mist. But unlike when Vision and Pietro dissolved, this mist didn't scatter. It returned to Wanda, reintegrating, becoming whole. The moment it did, the hex shattered. Not violently, not explosively. It simply unmade itself, peeling back like dawn burning away fog. The false sky disappeared, revealing real stars. The scripted town dissolved, showing Westview's true streets, damaged and worn but authentic. Wanda fell, drained completely. Monica caught her. Around them, townspeople stirred. They'd been frozen mid-action, puppets with cut strings, but now they moved with genuine will. Confused, traumatized, but free. Agatha appeared, supporting herself against a fence. Her face was haggard, ancient, but her eyes were clear. "You did it, girl," she rasped. "Damn near killed us all, but you did it." Strange surveyed the damage, already calculating. "The residents will need medical and psychological support. Monica, contact your people. I'll establish a perimeter to ensure no residual magic." "Strange," Wanda's voice was barely audible. "Your offer to train me, does it still stand?" He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Come to the sanctum when you're ready. We'll teach you control. But Wanda, the people here deserve your apology first. And some may never forgive you. You'll have to live with that." "I know." Monica helped her stand. Around them, residents began to recognize what had happened, their expressions shifting from confusion to horror to rage. Someone shouted. Others joined. Wanda didn't run. She stood in the center of Westview, surrounded by the people she'd imprisoned, and waited. A woman approached, Mrs. Hart, the one who'd been trapped in the longest loop. Her face was gaunt, her eyes hollow. For a terrible moment, everyone held their breath. Then Mrs. Hart spoke. "My daughter. I have a daughter in college. I haven't seen her in weeks. You took that time from me." "I did," Wanda said. "I'm sorry. It's not enough, but I'm sorry." Mrs. Hart stared at her, then turned away, walking toward the town's edge where emergency vehicles were arriving. Others followed. Some cursed Wanda, some wept, some said nothing at all. Wanda stood and witnessed every bit of it, her penance, her truth. As dawn broke over Westview, real dawn, not manufactured, Agatha limped over. "The spell I tried to cast," she said. "It wasn't meant to suppress your power. It was meant to teach you to grieve without destroying yourself. But your magic, it had other plans." "Will you be all right?" Wanda asked. "I survived Salem. I'll survive this." Agatha's expression softened. "You did well, girl. Vision would be proud." She walked away, leaving Wanda alone with Monica and Strange. "What happens now?" Wanda asked. Monica glanced at Strange, then back. "Now you heal, you learn, you become someone who never does this again." "And if I can't?" "Then we'll stop you," Strange said simply. "But I don't think we'll have to." Wanda looked at the rising sun, feeling its warmth on her face. Real warmth, real light. For the first time since Thanos, she felt something other than grief. She felt possibility.